Recently, I started going into the office for the first time since starting my job 9 months ago, and it's finally given me a taste of what it's actually like going into the office a couple days a week. So I decided I'll talk a little bit about the pros and cons of working from home versus working in office that I've noticed over the past couple of weeks to hopefully give you a bit of a better idea of what to expect whether you're working fully remote, hybrid, or completely in person. One of the biggest things I was looking forward to about working in person was having a space dedicated to work. In my apartment, there isn't enough space to have a whole room or even just a desk dedicated to working, which, thanks to the power of mental association, isn't really great for putting yourself in the work mindset when you're trying to work, and then turning that off at the end of the day. Going into the office and sitting down at my desk at 8 a.m. means I am locked in. And generally, since no one else is in that early, I have a pretty good chunk of time to get work done without really having to worry about being distracted. Now, I wouldn't really say I'm unproductive when I'm at home, but there's also just a lot more of a blurred line between what's work and home that just doesn't exist when you go into the office. On the flip side, being around other people does naturally introduce some distractions, whether that's at lunchtime. I haven't been doing working lunches because I've been socializing during them, or just the miscellaneous breaks that people take throughout the day. That being said, these breaks often do spark up pretty interesting conversations that more often than not are related to either the work we're doing or the field or just the company, so I wouldn't really consider this time wasted. But it definitely isn't people just sitting around working for 8 or 9 hours straight, which isn't really realistic, let alone healthy, even if you could do that. Naturally, being in the office results in a lot more organic collaboration just because everyone is in such close proximity, but there is one big catch. The only way this works is if your coworkers are also coming in and coming in on the same days as you. Otherwise, you're probably just doing the same thing you were doing from home, except now from the office. Now, unless your entire team is coming in, it's pretty hard to get away from relying heavily on messages and video calls, but it generally only takes a handful of people to be coming in to spin up some relevant discussions and just reduce some of that friction that comes from collaborating online. Especially in a building like mine that has an open floor layout, it's really as simple as just swiveling in your chair and talking to someone. There's no cubes to walk between or any office doors that you need to knock on. Now, if you're someone who likes the peace and quiet of home in terms of not getting distracted, then this might not seem like a positive for you, but I would also say that it seems like as long as you put on either headphones or just grab a focus room, people get the point that you're trying to focus on getting some work done and they're not going to bother you. This is definitely one of the things I am most excited about as more and more people start coming into the office, and I really do think I'm going to be doing a lot more collaborating in the next couple of months compared to the first 9 months on the job. One of the biggest draws when it comes to working from home is the extra flexibility you get and just the time you're able to save by not physically going into an office. Now, fortunately for me, this isn't too much of an issue. My commute is about 10 minutes each way, but for some of my coworkers, going into the office is over an hour of commuting per day, which is just more time that could either be spent working or just as leisure time in the evenings. On top of that, you're probably spending money to get into the office, whether it's paying for gas or electricity for your car, or it's paying for ride shares, or just taking public transit. The extra flexibility you get from working from home also is pretty nice in different situations, whether it's someone coming over to do maintenance on your house, or just throwing a load of laundry in the washing machine while you're working, or maybe it's just not dropping your kids off at daycare. Especially if you're someone who doesn't feel like you get a ton of benefit from going into the office, then working from home is probably going to save you time and money, and just overall is going to be a bit more convenient. Working from home generally gives you a lot of control, whether it's your desk and chair setup, the temperature, the background noise, or just the clothes that you're wearing. Going into the office, though, suddenly puts you in this environment where you might need to wear dress clothes, you might not like the people you're sitting near, and you might feel like you're working in a refrigerator. Now, fortunately, I have been pretty lucky, and there's a pretty lenient dress code. All of my coworkers are great, and okay, the office is a little bit cold, but I think I'll live. That's not always the case though. I know in both of my internships, there were definitely aspects of working in the office that I didn't always enjoy, whether that be wearing a button-up shirt every day and dress pants, or just working in a series of cubes that didn't have any windows. Now, none of that stuff really bothered me that much, but there was also definitely room for improvement. I really think this is a point that if I brought it up 5 years ago, people would generally assume that putting up with some of these things is just an inherent part of working, but the past 2 years of people working remote has really changed the perception around the idea of what working can and should look like. Especially if your office space and the people you share it with are less than ideal, then this is probably one of the biggest draws to working from home. So in conclusion, if it wasn't already obvious, I have definitely enjoyed going into the office, and I think the pros for the most part outweigh the cons of at least going in a few days a week in my current situation. Anyways, that's it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.